Hey friends, Ash here with GENTSTEN. How you doing? It's time for another Armaf fragrance. Armaf Club de Nuit Iconic. Or maybe it's Iconique. No, I think Iconic. Yeah. So this is one of their new releases. They came out with 4 of them. They had Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir, Club de Nuit Iconic, Club de Nuit Untold, and Club de Nuit Imperial. So yeah, 4 new Club de Nuit fragrances dropped on our heads out of nowhere. I have already talked about Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir. That one is sort of a Dior Sauvage meets a sprinkling of Aventus, essentially. And today, we're gonna be talking about Iconic. We're gonna check out the presentation, go over the pricing, all that good stuff. Let's jump into it. And guys, I do have Club de Nuit Iconic and the other new Club de Nuits linked in the description in case you want to check them out. Fragrancebuy.ca is where they popped up first. So if you're after it in the US or Canada, that's where you're gonna find it. And price-wise, this one, I guess where it's new, is a little bit pricier. It's right at about $50 US. Technically, as of this video, it's like $49.75. We'll just say 50. And then Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir is actually the cheapest of the new ones. That one is right at about 40. So it's 20% less, $10 less. And also nothing to do with Club de Nuit, but my new fragrance Blue Ridge is in every Perfumania and every fragrance outlet store in the US as of right now. So if you want to check this out in store, head to your local Perfumania or your local fragrance outlet and ask for this. And if you're in store, use the code GENTSTEN for $10 off. It's also linked in the description on Michael Molol's website, 20% off with code GENTSTEN. That's good for the whole website, including my new ones, Jet Black Enigma and Terra Nova Iconic, Club de Nuit Iconic presentation time. So here we got the front of the box. You have the name of the fragrance, size and concentration. It's a 105 ml size bottle. You have Armaf on top. On the side, your certificate of authenticity, your sticker of authenticity. On the back, your ingredients. And on the bottom, your batch code. Mine is good until 11/20/27, it says. Gotta say, I actually really like the presentation of Iconic. This is my favorite Club de Nuit bottle and box, for whatever that's worth. And here we have the bottle. Again, I really like this. I like the design, I like the color, I like it all. So you got the name of the fragrance, size, and concentration once again. It's like the Armaf medallion is getting sucked into a hole or something. It says Club de Nuit on the side, nothing on the back, sticker on the bottom, along with your batch code printed on the bottom of the bottle, and your typical kind of tacky cap. And it says Armaf on top of the atomizer. It is now time to spray the fragrance. And do keep in mind, guys, that this is essentially a glorified first impression. I've worn this all of 2 times. I've not been able to wear it out and about, so keep that in mind. All right, so Iconic. What is this? What is it a clone of? What does it smell like? Well, to me, Club de Nuit Iconic smells most similar to this. Bleu de Chanel. Yes, Chanel, Bleu de Chanel. This is the Eau de Toilette. Now, when you first spray Club de Nuit Iconic on, you have to let it settle for a second. Now, it's not that it smells as aggressively chemically as something like the Club de Nuit Intense Man smells. It's not that bad. It just has like a faint, I don't know, sourness to the citrus when you very first spray it on, but give it just a little bit of time, legitimately about a minute, then it settles in nicely. It doesn't smell exactly one-to-one with Bleu de Chanel. I would say to me, the thing that's most noticeably missing is going to be the ginger. So that ginger in the opening of Bleu de Chanel just really gives it an extra bit of freshness. You know, that zing, that pop, that fresh, spicy tartness. Club de Nuit Iconic also makes use of bergamot in the opening as compared to the grapefruit and Bleu de Chanel. So you have a little bit of a difference there as far as the citrus notes go as well, but it's not a huge difference. You can definitely tell that Club de Nuit Iconic is trying to be like Bleu de Chanel, and it does make sense in the way that as far as blue fragrances go, and I mean, looking at the bottle, obviously that's what they're going for here. Bleu de Chanel is definitely what I would consider an iconic blue fragrance. The other main difference between the two is that Club de Nuit Iconic leans more into like a lavender type of masculine blue fragrance as it starts to dry. The vetiver comes out a little bit earlier on and Club de Nuit Iconic as compared to Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette. And Club de Nuit Iconic is maybe not quite as zingy as Bleu de Chanel is off the skin. You know, it doesn't have quite as much of that pop in the open. Now, with the way I'm talking, maybe you would think, well, Club de Nuit Iconic, maybe that's not a great alternative to Bleu de Chanel. No, it's actually really good. I'm just trying to pick out the little pieces, you know, little bits and bobs that I can to differentiate the two. So as Club de Nuit Iconic dries, it starts to become, to me anyway, kind of like this melding of a couple of blue fragrances. Of course, you still have that Bleu de Chanel kind of vibe carrying over as the fragrance dries, but it takes on a little bit of something like K Eau de Parfum. More so like the mid and base of K Eau de Parfum, like the midway point of this fragrance getting mixed together with a bit of Bleu de Chanel, kind of like that kind of vibe. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, people are gonna say Iconic is a Bleu de Chanel clone, and I don't disagree with that. It's just, it does take on some facets, some bits and pieces from a fragrance like K Eau de Parfum, or maybe you could say like L'Homme Rocus. Like there's a little bit of that kind of vibe riding underneath the Bleu de Chanel-ness of the fragrance. Club de Nuit Iconic takes on this really nice sweetness as it dries down. So you get some amber in there, like some labdanum working underneath the woodiness of the fragrance, the vetiver, little ambroxan in there as it dries as well. And what that does is it gives it great versatility because it's not just straight up fresh and that's it. You know, with that additional sweetness and warmth that comes in as it dries, it makes it where you could wear this during the spring, during the fall, potentially during the winter. It's not your typical winter scent, but if you want to wear a blue fragrance during winter, the one that does have, you know, a little bit of an ambery warmth and sweetness that comes out, that's going to work better than something that's just, you know, citrus and aquatics. And so overall, what you have here is a very solid entry into basically just blue fragrances in general that is trying to be Bleu de Chanel with a little bit of a twist. Still though, as I said before, if you're gonna say, is that a clone of something? You're gonna say, yeah, Bleu de Chanel. Much like in the same way you would say Club de Nuit Intense Man is a clone of Aventus, but then if you spray it side by side with Aventus, you'll go, well, no, I mean, it's different in the opening and it's different here and it's different there. It's definitely done in the style of that. You can tell it's inspired by that, but it's not exactly the same. That's pretty much what's going on here with Iconic and Bleu de Chanel. Like, is it definitely trying to be a Bleu de Chanel type fragrance? Yes. If you spray them on side by side, will you get some differences? Yes. But I will say at times, especially like the opening into the mid, it's pretty close. Essentially, like when they open Iconic and Bleu de Chanel, they're similar, but a bit different. Then they get really close, very similar. And then as they dry down, they kind of go their separate ways again. Overall though, another solid release from Armaf. This is really good, but the price point, you know, some people are gonna be iffy on that. $50 for a Bleu de Chanel type fragrance. Obviously, Bleu de Chanel is more expensive than that for sure, but it's not one of those value propositions like you'll find with Club de Nuit Intense Man, where you can pick it up for under $30 and the fragrance it's emulating is at retail, you know, hundreds of dollars. So it ends up being like 10% or less the cost of the real deal, whereas this one ends up being closer to like 50% of the cost of the real deal, or somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, it's not exactly that, but it's close. So just like with Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir, it's gonna come down to that price point. Does it make sense to you? If it does, this is a great alternative to Bleu de Chanel. If it does not make sense to you, then yeah, just wait and hopefully the price goes down. That's what I would say. Performance has been good off my skin. Maybe not quite as good as Urban Man Elixir, but still good enough to get the job done. Seems like it has nice projection, good staying power. But again, I've only worn it a couple times and I've not worn it anywhere except around the house. So can't really give you like a definitive on that. So there we go. Club de Nuit Iconic Man. Overall, I think the quality here, very good. As I said with Urban Man Elixir, much improved over the earlier years of Armaf. Like you can actually wear this and in the air, it smells fantastic. And even up close, still smells very good. Quite close to Bleu de Chanel with those tweaks and changes I mentioned before. A lovely blue scent, great compliment puller, very versatile. And I think the best looking of the bunch, frankly. Nice. So there we go, Club de Nuit Iconic. If you smell this, let me know what you think about it. And of course, thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Another fragrance video. See you later.